Hello and welcome to Ecology TV. Today I have the great pleasure and honor to welcome Janez Omloff from the climate justice movement from Germany. Hello, Janez.
Hello, it's a great honor to me as well to be here, got invited, and thank you very much.
So today we're going to talk about direct action, and one of those examples of direct action is what's happening actually in Germany. A big protest going on right now while we are talking, a protest against fossil fuels.
Yes, that's right. We have a movement in Germany called Ende Gelände. They organize mass civic disobedience actions where they go to the coal mine area. They go through police line if there is any, and then they gonna blockade the diggers in order to stop the whole process of coal mining.
So you've delivered a brilliant presentation today on direct action. Some call it direct action, others call it civil disobedience. Can you tell us more?
Disobedience, a long history. We could go back to South Africa. That's where I was based for a year, living there, and I did some research of the movement there. So whenever there is injustice as a law, because laws are not always just, you know, sometimes they treat people differently in terms of the apartheid in South Africa, for example. So if we go back in history, we have many examples of direct actions or civil disobedience happening there. And one of the participants of my workshop just said that there are like 30 protests every day happening in South Africa. And yeah, so this has a long history, and I think even before the fight against South Africa, against the apartheid regime. But the concept of direct action, which I was bringing here, is more developed from the animal rights movement in England, where they free animals instead of asking the government to have better treatment for the animals.
So you gave us a brilliant presentation today on direct action and several examples also, and one that spoke a lot to me is the hanging action, where people hang and not to be caught by the police. How did it come? How did you develop it?
Well, it's a concept, I think, which came from an activist in France. She liked to climb a lot. Her name is Cécile. It's a Scrabble, actually. That's her action name.
Okay.
And she was a climber, and she also was political active. And I think when I was 14 years old, I watched a documentary on it, and I saw her doing this kind of direct action. And I was quite inspired, and yeah, then it grew a bit because it's quite successful if you climb up a tree or if you go down from a bridge, because police, they need special force to get you down. And yeah, we did a training which is 1 week long, where you only need, or where you learn the basics of the climbing, where you go up a rope, down a rope. You also learn about the material, how to rescue people, and it's a special technique. And then you use it in your action group and you combine it with political statements you have. Because the whole idea of direct action is to generate a corridor of eruption, to interrupt people of their daily life. If they always look at the watch, they have to go to work 8 hours a day, there's not much space left for them to get involved into politics. So if you climb up lights, or if you climb up a tree in the town and you put posters up there, some people are, what's happening there? You know, we interrupt them through these kind of actions as well. And through the interruption, we can give them information. They wouldn't take the information just by papers, but if you're hanging up there, and then, you know, it's creating awareness of topics.
And always trigger the attention and curiosity of the people.
So direct has two basics, I would say. The first thing is you actually do change something, for example by blockading a power plant or the digger. And through these kind of action you can become, well, you can get into the media and you can place your statements, your policy, your visions, your critics there. Yeah.
You do things to attract the media, so the subject goes to the public and people start debating about it.
I would say so, yes. That the main action is, to get a political change. And we need the media to put some pressure. It's on the one hand to put pressure, but on the other hand to advertise for our actions. Because if other people hear what we're doing or they see actions, or even myself, I got inspired by the media, And so it's also good for the growing of the movement if we documentary our actions. But of course you can also do hidden direct actions. That means you play kind of drama when you go to a supermarket and you have lots of things you want to buy, and then you put them all there and then you say, stop, actually I don't have money, but there's so much in the store, we cannot take it for free. And then there is a hidden person, which is your friend, like waiting in the queue, saying, oh, come on, hurry up, I need to go to work. What's happening here? I need to work. I need to work,
Yes.
And then there's a third person says, hey, but imagine if everything would be for free. You don't need to go to work. And then you have like a hidden drama taking place, and it's a direct action on the daily lives. For one example, you can use the media, but you can also do direct action individually by your own choice, what you're consuming, what kind of clothes you're wearing. Is it fair trade clothes? Is your paper recycled? So there are different levels of where you can get into direct action.
But at the same time, and this is an interesting discussion that arises from the workshop today, some direct action are not well viewed and not welcomed by the public. Sometimes it can also get negative views.
What direct action needs to do is to find a channel of good communication. So if we do an action which is called violence, for example by throwing a cake in your face, that's also, I attack you as a person. It's even more than just burning a car, because I attack you as a human being. But it doesn't kill you, or it doesn't really hurt you. But I need to find a way of communication to tell why am I doing this. The basic line of direct action, you don't want to hurt people, and don't put them in danger. That's maybe what's the difference between left-wing direct actions and right-wing direct actions, if you call it like this. I'm a human being and I want to live in peace and harmony with everybody, and I don't want to kill or damage their lives. But what I'm trying to say is, if you really think it's necessary to go to a municipality, for example, or to an office, and to attack it because it's unjust what's happening there. Because I heard stories that women get into police station and they get raped by the police people. So you have to always think about what kind of message do you want to present by using the action. And throwing a stone or burning a car, it's quite difficult to change the message because the media is too strong on it. But yeah, maybe you can wrap a police car with newspaper and put some color on it, or decorate it as like a Christmas tree to make more jokes out of it, to be more creative than just using violence.
You said something very interesting, like when you were explaining what is to be a political activist, and it might be being a kid, be like a child and doing things.
Yes, it's, we are in a system of capitalism. We grow up in a system of capitalism where we just have to follow the rules. And just, this is the place, this is the work you have to do. And what I mean with children, because they might be not yet so deep into the capitalistic system. They are clever, they have creative ideas, they interrupt people, they kind of troublemakers sometimes as well. And I also like to be a troublemaker and kind of be creative and not following the norms, I would like to follow my personal norms or the norms of the movement, of a solidarity, feminist, self-empowerment, grassroots movement, if you call it like this. So I don't want to follow what people tell me to do. So if I want to, stand up here, I can stand up here and or put my feet there or whatever. It's different kind of how I would like to behave and just to be free.
But at the same time, I hear what you're telling me, but what if the way you do disturb other people who don't live the same way, who don't have the same feelings and same way of thinking?
I would differentiate between disturbing and oppressing people, because the way how I want to live is, yes, I would like to disturb them, but I don't want to oppress them. And what the capitalism system does, it oppresses people. So let me rather disturb them for a moment to kind of saying hello and to make them aware that they are oppressed and what's happening in the world, that the kind of way how they behave influences also in the global south people's life. So it would be great if everybody could live how they actually want. It would be a perfect idea. But it first means we have to get over capitalism first, because it's dictating us to follow and to work, and in the end there's nothing left for us.
Do you see a change, people, since you're doing this direct action, people understanding and moving away from capitalism? Things, organizing.
Last year I've been in South Africa and I had a very nice chat to an activist, Andrew, and he told me that the movement is like a mushroom. It's growing underneath. You don't always see it. Sometimes there's a direct action and then the mushroom comes out. And I really believe that it's also this book I'm really fan of. It's in German, unfortunately, but it means we are everywhere. We are all over, and there are so many things happening in the world, and we must connect it. And right now, being here in the School of Ecology, there are so many people coming together from so many different countries and fights, but in the end, it's one fight, united. So I think there's a change happening, and there's also a direct change happening in the way how people live. They become more vegetarian, for example, or vegan. They are more aware of where the clothes come from, how they organize themselves, where they get the food from. Maybe there's more direct contact to the farmers. So I think we are like little mushrooms growing everywhere, and we're still connected.
You were talking earlier about being creative, and you have a very special way of reporting things, and you've been doing it since the day one of the School of Ecology. And it's amazing how you can get all the ideas in a single page. How do you do this?
Graphic recording. It's a concept where you actually combine pictures and words. So when kids are at school and they just draw something, let them draw, because they link a picture with what the teacher is saying. So this is it's not something very special. It's actually quite simple. It's like learning a language. It's a language of pictures, and I'm at the point where I just know the grammar. And the grammar means you always put a frame around, you use color in a specific way, you try to structure it, you leave space. But if you look on the picture, you will remember like the day what happened. Just
Yes.
by looking, you just see, okay, new agenda, lobster, there was a big issue on lobster, and you can summarize the whole day on one picture, yeah.
Okay.
So sometimes I facilitate trainings to people because I mostly do political education and facilitation. And to run workshops, it's also good for interactive workshops. I draw on big posters, like much bigger, and then you can write directly down what the participants are saying, and then you create a way of communication. It's all about communication and having people follow what's happening, follow the process, and because of pictures, they can also have feelings in the process. And it's if we just type and there are no feelings.
No feelings.
So
What also the workshop this afternoon was, how do we combine direct action and other action, like political action, action happening in court? There are so many things happening. How do we combine these?
I think when you do direct actions, you have to think of the consequences as well. So it might lead you to go to court. But court is another place for a direct action. You can, because you're called there for political action, I'm not called there because I parked my car, which I don't own, somewhere. It's because of a political action. I'm a political prisoner or a political court session. I don't know how to say, but so you can implement a lot of ideas of politics again into the court session. For example, by not sitting in the correct way they want you to sit. Then it will take 10 minutes for them to make you sit right, or you pay another fine. But so you can be creative in court as well by throwing confetti or other stuff to disturb the process as well. But you also have the space to speak and to set a new agenda and to explain yourself why you did this kind of action. So I think, unfortunately, direct action and court belongs together. Like the repression, because they don't want you to disturb anymore and they want to keep you quiet. Because government works with protest. In a democracy, they give you a specific space where you can protest. But if you go out of the space and you become kind of an enemy of the system, then they put you to court. But sometimes also if you behave right, they put you still to court because it's just repression. But in general, coming back to the question how to combine different political activism strategies, I think we have to choose for ourselves, what can I do? Where am I good in? What do I want to? Where can I put the power? And then either you go and facilitate workshops, or you do direct actions, or you write articles, or giving an interview, or asking questions, It's also political activism, and we have to find our own space. And then if there's a transformation of society, I believe that it depends on the time that people rise and people lobby and people go to court and do interview and media. So you always have to check at what level of transition are we right now. And I think right now we are still where we have to interrupt people and to make them aware, teach them, but also kind of organize them as well to really live the transformation of the society.
As we have seen in the pictures that you showed, there were like thousands of people coming together to protest against the mining coal in Germany, and this demands a lot of time and also energy.
Yes. Yeah, but it's the way how we want to live. When we create like climate camps, lots of people come together. They do all different works. I mean, there's of course a group who prepares something, but then it's a DIY, do it yourself, or actually do it together approach. That, I'm there and I need to help in the kitchen. I'm there and I need to clean up. I'm there and I need to do the action or not. I become part of the organization. And that's why hierarchy organization won't work for a lot of people. But if we are grassroots or like level-based organized, where we can, facilitate a workshop as we want, or we go to a meeting and we have the voice, then I think people come back again because they can be part of the power of the movement. So we learn how to organize ourselves there. Of course, there are always people who have more experience, which makes a different level between people, but through teaching others the strategies, how we move, like in fingers, and then there's the police, and then we spread up, and then the police doesn't know where to go, and then you can run away, or you can run through. So, or you have pressure points that first here you press against the police, and then the others actually run displayed around. And so there are different techniques which are taught us by, there's Skills for Action. It's a great movement, or a great collective of trainers as well, where they try to organize and involve people in the movement.
So what we've learned today, not only today but during the whole school of ecology, that everyone is fighting in their own country, but at some point it's the same struggle. All the fights meet at a certain point.
I think it's a global system, and if we pollute the air in Germany, and I mean the most pollution and destruction of the planet is happening because of the global north, like the area where I come from. So it's actually the responsibility of the area where I come from that climate change happens, that people losing their houses here. I mean, there's an action or beach grabbing happening here in Mauritius. And I don't know if it's all from companies from Mauritius, but I know there are also German money involved in South Africa. German money is involved in the coal mines, which leads to a huge damage of the people there. So I always ask myself, how could I also support the people in the global south? Or what would you like to actually say and tell us? That's also why I'm here, and to get some stories to take back home and tell there. And there's a new movement as well, like Free the Soil it's called, and it's also opening up more internationally, so not only Germany, to see the connection between land property, food, climate change. It's so a big topic, and it's good to interact with people and make a connection. It was a pleasure for me to be here. Thank you.